Everyone's favorite Cowboy hater, Stephen A. Smith, has disrespected the Dallas Cowboys, and we have to break it down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Cowboys Football 365. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, please hit that subscribe button. But let's get into the news for today. Coming from First Take. On First Take, Stephen A. Smith was asked, can the Dallas Cowboys win the NFC East? He responded with a short answer saying, hell no. So, Stephen A., never, always just talking about the Dallas Cowboys, never can give us props for absolutely anything. I will say, just to be fair, he did, after saying that they can't win the NFC East, he did go ahead and praise Dak Prescott, saying that he's playing at an MVP level currently, which is absolutely a fact. Dak Prescott is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL so far this season, objectively, and you can argue, oh, if Lamar Jackson doesn't get hurt, that doesn't happen, or if Josh Allen doesn't have this turnover, that turnover, then Dak Prescott's not there. But Dak Prescott is currently leading the number 1 offense in the NFL, leading the Dallas Cowboys to 390.6 yards per game. So he absolutely deserves all the hype that he's getting. But Stephen A. Smith still is a non-believer in what Dallas is currently building. Now, you may say it's because of their league leading yards allowed, or, league leading meaning they've allowed the most yards in the league, meaning it's absolutely as bad as it can possibly be. But the Dallas Cowboys were working on that. Eberflus, the new defensive coordinator, is going to figure something out. A lot of people are saying what needs to be said, which is this defense needs to take more chances, because if they give up a fast touchdown, at least that gives us more time for our offense to be on the football field to have more chances to score, because Dak Prescott is going to run up points. But, there weren't a whole lot of actual football takes behind what Stephen A. was bringing to the table here, just talking about how they can't win because they're the Cowboys. But there has not been a back-to-back NFC East conference or divisional champion since the Eagles did it 2002, 2003, 2004. Ever since then, no one has been able to repeat, which means that the door is open for the Dallas Cowboys. The Philadelphia Eagles are not looking as strong as they looked last season. Their run game isn't as good as it was, and that is causing Jalen Hurts to, I'm not going to say get exposed, but some of his shortcomings as a passer are being shown a little bit more light this season. But every quarterback in the NFL has shortcomings other than, Patrick Mahomes. So there's nothing wrong with that. But Dak Prescott getting praised by Stephen A. Smith for a great reason. Dak Prescott is currently leading this offense in a great way, a way that is very highly reminiscent of the Cincinnati Bengals from last season, where Joe Burrow broke every Bengals record in the book and didn't even make the playoffs. So if there is a little bit of a groundwork laying for a team with a high-powered offense but a absolutely porous defense not even making the playoffs. So I understand a little bit of where Stephen A. Smith is coming from, but everyone had a ton of questions about Schottenheimer coming in as the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys this season. But it is pretty clear that the Jerry Jones taking a chance on this guy who really no one saw coming or was praising at the time. It's looking like a good hire. This team is a well-coached football team. They just don't have a defense. And a lot of it is they're under-talented on defense, which you can understand after you trade away your best player to go into the start of the season. That's a wrench being thrown into your defensive coordinator's plans right as soon as the season is starting. It's so much harder for Eberflus when you're planning for Micah Parsons to be there and then he's not going to be there. But if we look at who else is there on there are some bad defenses on this list. The first couple weeks of the NFL season, the NFC Offensive Player of the Week was just whoever played the Dallas Cowboys defense, which fortunately that trend has come to an end, but it has to be better than that. Dallas Cowboys right next to the Cincinnati Bengals, who I mentioned earlier, also in a similar position with expected to be a good offense and a really bad defense, also with a pass rusher who was disgruntled coming into the year. Bengals were down Trey Hendrickson to start the season, but they're going to do whatever they're going to do with Joe Flacco. Ravens also dealing with a ton of injuries. The Dallas Cowboys are also a team that has dealt with some injuries. Some of our guys getting hurt at home. I'm not sure what the exact story behind that is, but you want to make sure you guys are always healthy. Football is a dangerous enough sport when you're playing on the football field. There are enough injuries to go around there. You can't have people probably slipping and falling at home and getting concussions, but not entirely sure what the injury was there. But fortunately, the Dallas Cowboys offense is there to bail them out right above the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts didn't even punt, or maybe they punted once in game 3, but the first 2 weeks of the season never even punted. But the Dallas Cowboys offense is averaging more yards per game than them. And some of that comes from the fact that we give up a lot more points on defense than the Colts do. So we're going to have to score more points on offense to make up for that. And we're getting more opportunities because after the Dallas Cowboys defense gives up a flea flicker bomb touchdown to Caleb Williams and the Bears, that's just one play that the Cowboys offense is off the field, and they're going to quickly come back onto the field and be able to rack up more points. So a little bit of the yards per game is inflated by the fact that the defense is so bad, but it doesn't take away the fact that Dak Prescott is playing MVP level football with a ton of injuries on his offensive line in front of him. We lost our left tackle for a couple weeks. Even before the season started, was very thankful that that was not longer than it was, but also got to give a little bit of credit to Jerry Jones. Makes a ton of mistakes. I mean, there's just a ton of bad things to say about Jerry Jones when it comes to his moves, wanting to make media moves instead of making real football moves. So you got to give him credit when credit's due. The George Pickens trade is looking really, really good. The next step is getting that guy paid, but you got to make sure that we do not continue to turn into the Cincinnati Bengals, because hear me out. Really good offense, really bad defense. Top of the line paid quarterback, top of the line paid wide receiver 1, and then top of the line paid wide receiver 2. What team am I talking about? I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals or the Dallas Cowboys if they pay George Pickens a ton of money. So that's a little bit of a cautionary tale. The way you build competing rosters in the NFL, you draft a rookie quarterback, you put a ton of weapons around him, pay them a lot of money, and try to win when your quarterback is on his rookie deal. If you're not lucky enough to be able to win a Super Bowl while your quarterback's on the rookie deal, then you got to pay the quarterback a ton of money, and then you take away the weapons from him. So the Cincinnati Bengals did not do that. They kept all the weapons around Joe Burrow, and frankly, they have too many offensive pieces, and they have not spent enough money on defense. The question is, do the Dallas Cowboys fall into that same trap? Now, we did just send a day 2 pick away to pick up George Pickens, so you have to imagine they're going to be paying him, and they're going to have Ceedee on a massive contract, George Pickens on a massive contract, and Dak Prescott, all three of those guys on massive contracts. That is going to choke the rest of the salary cap and make it so it's going to be tougher to pay our first round pick offensive linemen when they're all playing well, and they're going to be up for contracts pretty soon here. So we got to hang on to the money for them. Jerry Jones correctly wants to build this team through the trenches. That's how the Cowboys teams of the past were built, and that's how football is still played. It's more of a passing league now than it used to be, but it's still an offensive line league. The teams with the best offensive lines are going to be able to win football games. In the past, it was they're going to run the ball all over people, but currently in today's NFL, it's how well can you protect your quarterback in the pocket. The best offensive lines, if I had a list of the best offensive lines, more likely than not, it's pretty similar to the list of the best teams in the NFL, and that's not a coincidence. So I'm scared of the prospect of paying George Pickens, because I have been very vocal about how the Cincinnati Bengals made a mistake paying all three guys, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. But once you trade a second round pick for George Pickens and then he balls out in the way he's balling out, you have no choice but to pay him the contract that he rightly deserves. George Pickens is playing at the top of the NFL in terms of wide receivers this season. And, some of that is Dak Prescott's a great quarterback, but when George Pickens signs a contract extension with the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott is still going to be there, still going to be his quarterback, and he still will be running up yards. Now, a little bit of his yards come from the fact that Ceedee Lamb is not playing, or was not playing, and he's now back, but the tape doesn't lie. George Pickens beat Sauce Gardner deep for a touchdown. The dude is a really, really good wide receiver, playing at the top of the league in those terms this season. This Dallas Cowboys team absolutely has a shot at winning the NFC East. It's absolutely ridiculous that Stephan A. Smith is coming out and saying that they don't have that opportunity. Dak Prescott, when your quarterback's playing this well, you always have a chance. Something's got to change defensively. Either schematically, they got to get more aggressive and just decide to do things differently from the way that they're doing them right now, because absolutely dead last in the NFL in terms of yards allowed. Was actually what I had on screen, over 400. You can't win too many games like that in the NFL, but it is still possible theoretically, because history's on our side, to win the division when doing something like that. But that's what I got for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and thanks for watching.